Here we go. This is askSlim Live, April 27th, 2021. Information and support for traders and investors in a time of crisis and beyond. Here we go. We do this every couple of weeks, and I see lots of people still coming in the room. But we're still going to get started here. A little bit of legal cleanup to do. Everything that we do here at askSlim.com is for entertainment and educational purposes. Everything we do, whether it be by oral or video or on the website or emails or anything we send to you, is all for that purpose, and should always check with your investment advisor. askSlim Live events are being held as support for members and are not included in memberships. They have been created for times of special needs, and note these events will likely be recorded. This one is being recorded right now, and we offer it on the askSlim.com website, and at times they'll be offered for public viewing. That's the case, usually on YouTube. We'll always act in ways to protect your identity. We never ever share it with third parties. I just had a request today for that and refused them. So we always work to keep your information private and keep you anonymous. Your participation in this event is an acknowledgement that you understand and agree. And if you need more information, you go to our terms, disclaimers, and full legal information on askSlim.com. You have the full analytical team here with you as normal. I'm a trader, a professional trader, futures trader, options trader, cycle analyst, pioneer. I started on CBOE in 1974 in May. Coming up to just short of a month now, away from being now as 47 years as a trader. Had a swing trade hedge fund. I'm a coach and host at askSlim.com at Tasty Trade for about 3.5 years. That was a daily show at noon, which really launched what we're doing here right now, and the founder and president of askSlim.com. Matt Serpy, 20 years in this business, a protege of mine, and had taken my coaching program. He was a managed futures broker. He is now COO and director of product innovation and at askSlim.com, and a partner. R.V. Ramachandran, 10 years in the business, hooked up with me about 7 years or so ago when he said he wanted to learn he was learning cycle analysis and wanted to do it with me if I ever did it on my own. And well, here we are. I called him up and he joined with me, and now he's never leaving, never. So because he is the expert, one of the experts in the country on this style of analysis, and he and Matt are the ones that are going to carry this way, way beyond me. He's vice president of business strategy, our lead analyst at askSlim.com, and also a partner. Let's get rolling right over here. We have levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 today. So lots of stuff going on. I'm noticing that our attendance is a little down, and I'm thinking that it's because the market has been so slow in here these last couple of days moving up. I think people are a little bit bored of the market right now. We're going to give you a little technical brief as the market is pretty mixed on the day today. And then Matt's going to take over. He's going to review what's new at askSlim, and he's going to give you a short demo of our new enhanced library, a new way for you to access our videos. And I'm pretty certain lots of you out there don't even know all of the videos that we have in there because the library is so deep and the access hasn't been as easy as we would have liked it to happen. So Matt and our development team have done a fantastic job in creating something new for you. So we almost bring something new to you all the time, and this is just another great one. And then we're going to take your questions in our express round, Q&A with all three of us, questions on askSlim services, trade planning, charter analysis, or trading issues. So it's kind of you ask, we tell, and ask us anything. So we're going to get into that. All right, so now what we're going to do is get into the charts. This is the S&P 500 chart, the chart that I often show with a side-by-side analysis on it. It's a very unusual condition, actually, where the upward pressure is so strong, as you can see right over here in this sharply rising momentum indicator on the weekly chart, that it would not allow much of a decline right over here where we were looking for a decline. In fact, that was only about 1.7%. We were looking for 2.5 to 3.5% in that declining phase. It was really barely perceptible. And I'm going to blow that up, and you can see these other yellow zones. For those of you that are familiar with the cycle analysis and what those yellow areas look like, raise your hand. I want to test raising your hand anyway. All right, great. So we have a lot of hands going up right there. And those of you that are new and relatively unfamiliar with it, please raise your hand. Okay, so we have some hands going up in that case also. So I know that I need to explain it a little bit. So this is cycle analysis. These are the cycle brackets on the bottom. And what we have here is the bigger one is dominant. It has a stronger force. The smaller one is minor. It has a weaker force. When you get them both coming down into the declining or corrective period is when you have the biggest downside risk, as you see. And we highlight that in a lot of charts with these yellow phasing that you see right in there. And there was one right over here. And this is the most shallow that we've had really in quite a long time. This one was pretty shallow, but not quite as shallow as that on a percentage basis. And if I go back a little bit further, I want to go back, not closer. That was the weekly. This is the daily. You can see that where these cycles line up, you often get some sharper declines. But in these bullish markets where you have the momentum, and this is the slim ribbon giving you positive momentum, it doesn't really let you have a lot of big declines. So when I come over here and I show you the slim ribbon PO and how that sets up, it shows you that right over where this turned positive right over here, this turns green. So the slim ribbon PO is an indicator that works with the slim ribbon, and it's kind of a signal line. And you can see right where this was correcting, this actually was giving you positive signals. And that was just fantastic that it would give you those kind of signals in a corrective period, telling you how strong the market really was. Now, these complex cycle structures that you see in here, we only do this on the indexes, and I also do it on silver. And when it's trading up in the top channel, as you can see, it's really a positive structure. And right now you can see higher highs, higher peaks, higher highs, higher peaks. And that's really what makes the upside trend. This one, we had to put in an extra upside channel in here because it was so strong. And now this next section right in here, this rising phase we're in, points to the upside still. And these resistance levels or target resistance levels in the fib confluences, this is, let's say right around 42.06, this one right here around 42.25. And then you come up here to about 42.85 or so, up to about 43.15. So those are what would be the normal upside movement in a positive condition of momentum. You would think it would continue to move up this channel with maybe getting a little dip in here, somewhere around the 13th to 16th day off of the low. And right now we're 5 days off of the low. You can see this one was 14 days off of the low and then started moving up again. So that's kind of a little lesson in there for you to understand about the cycle analysis. And right now, the pattern is every bit as bullish as it's been through this whole time period. Since the last major corrective period, which was the COVID crash back in 2020. So this has been pretty solidly positive ever since on the daily pattern. Here's your weekly pattern right in here. And there are, again, multiple projections in here. The little dashed line, the light one you see right there, is the minor cycle right here. That is suggesting a top here in May, June. That would give you a pullback then here, also into May, June, and then one more rally, potentially up into June, maybe even into July, depending on how strong it was. And then the risks are really picking up after that, coming down into August or maybe September. So that would be where this next period of risk is there. And we think it's going to be fairly significant because of this big dashed line that you see right there. That is a dominant cycle in these what we call as harmonic families. And if I blow this out, let me just get this a little bit bigger right over here, 10-year weekly. If I blow this out, you can see the last couple of major lows in here and what happened. So here's your low right over here of that big cycle. It joins up right over here with all of the cycles right there. And then it comes down again here into this August time frame. So like you see this big declining phase right over here, that's pretty similar right over here. So that might mean that there is a potential for a very large decline coming out in the summertime. And that's really what we've been talking about. I want to remind you that you can be putting your questions up right now. Make sure you put them in the Q&A and use the chat for just the little things that you want to put in there that are just like hellos or something that we could answer very quickly without looking at any chart. So this you can see the likelihood of some place that it will stop pretty soon is right there, looking at that and looking at this on the daily. I want to put up the Nasdaq really quickly, and on the daily chart, the weekly is pretty similar. And then I'm going to look at the Russell, and you'll see it's a little bit different. So you can see the daily chart on the S&P 500 on the Nasdaq right over here, and this points up to a level of about 14,250 up to this confluence area, which is about 14,450. So 14,250 to 14,450 would be the natural upward movement based on this upward momentum that we see in here before we get any kind of a top. The Russell is, and I was just talking about this with the guys, a little bit of an unusual pattern because as you could see right over here where this dominant cycle was coming down, and that dash line is the S&P 500. So you could see they're really out of phase. Russell has its own life. This is where it came down right over here, and because it should have been really strong on the downside here, it really makes us wonder if it's going to have some kind of a upside spike through these resistance levels, because this does show some strength in here where we thought it wouldn't. Now there's a range in here that's kind of identified, and I'm just going to tighten this up for you to see right in here. Why is that not giving me? Oh, I don't have enough on the right side here. Just going to extend the expansion to some wider area. And there you go. So there's a range right in here that I think is important to look at. That old peak and that cycle bottom right in here, 2181 up to about 2360. It could get stuck in there, and those fib extensions stall it in that area. And it ends up that all of this peaking that we think we're seeing in there is really going to be actually what does stop the market moving on the upside. It's now more synced with the other indexes. You can see our node in there than it was before. And on the weekly chart, you can see in here on the Russell that the momentum, which was negative, is flat right now. So it's not giving you anything significant in here. And this triangular shape that it was in, which we were suspicious that it would move to the upside, is showing you that it's actually doing that. But again, that 2360 might actually be a point that it is tough to get through on the upside. Just a little side note, you'll note today that the Nasdaq, which has on and off been the weakest index of all, has underperformed today as the market was really kind of mixed. And I think that was due to Tesla's earnings, which were kind of weighing on it. And of course, the market very quiet today because the Fed news will come out tomorrow afternoon. But the thing going back to Tesla is that I'm really wondering if Tesla's not going to be a downside leader in here pretty soon, as the markets are really getting, as investors are getting more informed, and the earnings that they reported today were seemingly a big beat. But when you look down deep into it, a bunch of credits they sold off, and of course some Bitcoin gains. I don't know how much that takes into effect on it. Only leaves about $70 million in profit, almost nothing for Tesla. Their car sales business doesn't make any money. It barely makes any money, and they really have to stretch it to make it look like it makes any money. And I think all of these ridiculous comments about Tesla going to 3,000, I think they actually Tesla may end up winning in the market here pretty soon. So I think that's some pretty important information that I just wanted to share. But I think when you look a little bit deeper into those earnings and that analysis and why the Nasdaq is a little weaker today. that's it. That's the kind of opening or wrap up here on the market. And I'm going to turn this over to Matt now, who's got some great stuff to show.
All right, thanks, Slim. Appreciate it. Great analysis and instruction as usual. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. You should see a level 4 dashboard here. In this brief segment, I'm going to cover what's new and interesting at askSlim. I'm just going to spend a few minutes on this. And the first thing we're going to review is we have launched a new upgrade to our trader video library. So many of you, if not all of you, access our videos. And you do that, and you will be able to continue to do that through our video library. And that is down here, you'll get into Slim's video library and trader educational tools. And this is where you can access videos. And that's what you've done in the past. But what is new for levels 2 through 4 is if you go to your workbench, you will now be able to see a new link here in the workbench called Trader Library. So let's go ahead and click on that. I'm going to load it up. Okay, so the first main row that I'm going to talk about here is this one right here. And it is exactly what it says. And this is where you're going to find our newest releases. So what we've tried to do, our objective with this was develop an enhanced service that allows for a more convenient, effective discovery of the hundreds of videos that we give access to and that we publish, and that have been published over the past probably what, five years or so, because many of those were designed for educational purposes and have an evergreen style to them, meaning that they should be good from now and really forever. So, but coming back to the functionality of this, the first row will give you what's new. So you'll be able to see what's new, the newest videos there. And then the next row is what's trending. So you'll be able to see the videos that are being clicked on by other members. And then in the remaining rows, they will highlight all of our evergreen videos in our key categories in terms of tools for text, trader psychology, and style, strategy, and plan. So what you'll notice is this user interface here has got a Netflix-esque kind of feel to it. And that's what we are trying to do, is be able to surface the videos easier for you. Also, you'll notice here a keyword search widget. So you'll want to click on this. And so if I do that, it'll open up what's called the keyword pool here. And this is our first version of the enhanced trader library. There'll be other iterations. And as always, we want you to share your feedback on this. But this search tool here, what you'll do is for example, I'll click on swing trading, and you'll see this row here will change. And it will populate those videos that we have tagged for swing trading. So it's a really cool way to find specific videos based on keywords. Now, and let's say I wanted to, so if I click off on swing trading, it'll default back to the complete list. And then if I wanted to go to candlesticks, I can do that. It'll pull the videos that are connected to candlesticks. And I click candlesticks again, and then it'll refresh it back to the default setting. And let's say I wanted to look at gaps. There's a couple on gaps. And now let's say I wanted to look at swing trading plus gaps plus candlesticks. I can do that, and it'll pull all the videos that are pertaining to candlestick swing trading and gaps. So those are all those videos, and you'll be able to then click next and see all the ones that offer those keyword tags. So it's an excellent way for us to be able to surface these videos for you, so that when you want to jump in and dig in and learn more about the various technical analysis information that we've produced, you can do that in our trader library, as well as find what's new and what's trending. Now, what I'm going to show here is I'm going to show you what we'll do here. I'm just going to refresh this back. Okay, so oscillators and candlesticks. So if you click this, this is going to then take you to that specific page for that specific video. In terms of your viewing experience, you could do that here, or you could have done it right back at that table of contents. So it does open up into a new page for you as well. So that is the newly enhanced trader library. As I mentioned, we always appreciate and look forward to your feedback. If there are any specific questions on that one, I'll take it now. Otherwise, I'll move on to a couple more items here that I wanted to review. Harvey, just let me know if you see anything come in, because maybe I'll just
I don't see anything on that topic, though there may be a couple here that we could do before you switch over.
Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next topic here was international markets. So this is brand new and it's fantastic. And if you are a level 2 through 4 member, you now have access to a new technical analysis service that askSlim has launched, where we're bringing the askSlim methodology to international markets. And it's been a huge request that has come in now for several months, and it is now available through askSlim. We are doing bi-weekly videos. RV is leading this. He's doing an awesome job. And where you can find that is you go into the trader library, and then there is now a dashboard button, international markets. And this is produced, as I said, a bi-weekly right now. And if you click on the international markets, you're going to get access to the video. As well, make sure you scroll down, because we have hot links to the specific markets, the starting points for where RV starts his analysis. So you're going to get our weekly and daily cycle analysis, along with our momentum and key levels on those 10 markets. Make sure to check it out if you haven't. Even if you only trade U.S. markets, it is very interesting and relevant to check these out from time to time for sure. All right, so the next piece here is, this is an interesting thing, is that we have released our 400th trade idea this week. 400 trade ideas, okay? So trade ideas are for level 3 and 4 members, and those are available. If you're new, make sure that you check it out. Even if you're a long-time veteran and you're not following these, you absolutely should. Most importantly is because this is one of the best ways, if not the best way, to see the askSlim methodology applied for trade planning purposes. So it is great. It's fantastic to be able to understand our logic, how we apply our methodology. You get to hear and see RV walk through the analysis and how he converts that analysis into a trading plan. So it is critical for all traders that we have a method, that we're able to utilize that method to produce analysis. And then finally, how do we convert that analysis into a trading plan? Well, with trade ideas, you get to see us do that just about every single day. And what we bring with that is, and this is just an example here, this came, RV posted this on April 22nd, and FCX, you get a video overview, you get the weekly and daily charts, and then you get an actual trade idea trading plan, where we walk you through the key components of a trade plan, our technical briefing, which is the logic for the trade idea. Just fantastic information, relevant, something that you should check out if you aren't already, and utilize it for nothing more than at least for educational purposes. But I got to say, not everyone do we get right, but of those 400, better than 70% of them, of our trade ideas, are accurate in terms of identifying the correct directional bias and then reaching our projected target zones before the reevaluation level. So as you look at how this is structured, we give you a favorable range for entry, a projection target zone, your bias. So this means that for over 70% of them, the bias is correct, and that it reaches a projection zone before then it would go into the reevaluation area. So this one did work out. They don't all work out, but we have a really good track record. And again, if nothing more, for educational purposes, as a budding trader or even a veteran trader, how we apply our methodology to trade planning. So congrats, RV, on the 400th trade idea that we published. Okay, the final piece of information I wanted to share is that our chart streams are now available. There's an example here. I just lost my. Well, I'll just have to explain. Oh, here it comes. All right, it's coming up. Just give me 1 second. It froze up on me. So every day we go live, we do a chart stream of our SIR intraday grid, and then we do 7 additional symbols. We do the SPX, the NDX, the RUT, and then we do the ETFs, so the SPY, the Qs, IWM, and then we do GLD, we do gold. And we've now made these 8 or 7 additional grids available for our level 4 members that you can upload into your own TOS system so that you don't have to watch the chart streams. Obviously you can, but this way you can actually upload, import those into your own system. And what you're going to get are the exact annotations and indicators that are in these charts. So if you're new to level 4, or if you haven't heard this yet, make sure you check out our chart grids area, and you scroll down to the bottom of the chart grids area, and you'll be able to access the links that you can then open up into your own systems that have all of our annotations already on them and all of the indicators. Furthermore, and I know I repeat this, but it's important to know if you are level 4, that you do get access to this actual raw grid. I'll show an example here with Apple. And that raw grid, you can plug in any symbol that you want. So I just put Apple in. And if it's one of our focus list symbols where we've done our annotations and our analysis, you can actually pull those additional features into the grids themselves. And so it's just a fantastic tool to be able to get your hands on our chart streams grid. And again, if you have access to the specific symbol through our chart grids, you can upload those into this as well. So those were the announcements for today's segment. And reach out to me if you have any questions.
I see a few questions there right now.
Okay, great.
First of all, Steve says, I may have missed it, is the new video search format for all levels. That's level 2, 3, and 4, Steve.
Yes, 2, 3, 4.
Right. We have Nguyen saying small issue, he can't access the trader library, and he's a level 2 member.
Okay.
So that must mean there's an issue with his membership.
I'll check it out. If you can just email me, it was just launched. So if members run into some kind of access issue, let me know. We did test it, but there still could be some kind of access issue. Have them just reach out to me. I'll be happy to.
Right, Matt at askSlim.com if you have some issue with the access, and he will work on that.
Yep.
And Waldemar said the same thing. So write to Matt.
Okay.
And we'll probably might have a little glitch there that we need to fix. Ron says, I'm new. I've got the shared ribbons for Thinkorswim. Can we get the slim ribbon PO and the cycle analysis? Let me just go over that a little bit. First of all, the slim ribbon is available for free. It's available on our site for Thinkorswim. It's also available now on TradingView and on Wealth 365 charts. The Slim Ribbon PO is proprietary. It's only available to our level 4 members. Matt, you want a demo? Is there anything we can show on that?
On the Slim Ribbon PO?
Yeah. What a level 4 member, well, you have it right in front of us, actually.
Yeah, it's right. It's right here. So the level 4 member gets access to all of our proprietary indicators. And if you import this grid, essentially you're going to be able, at the same time you're importing all of our indicators, which then you can create you can save the indicator set, and you could apply those to, again, any symbol that you wanted. But we give you access as a level 4 member to this raw grid, which covers all of our indicators.
And the last part of the question is, when somebody asks me for cycles, I get the sense in that question that they believe that the cycle brackets on the bottom are an indicator, which is not the case. The cycle brackets on the bottom of the chart, which you can see right there on the Apple daily chart, those arches are simply a drawing tool. The work that you see regarding cycle analysis is done manually. And Avi and I and Matt at times works on that, and it takes a lot of work to create that on the number of charts that we do. And for our level 4 members who in their service get 2 custom charts a week, sometimes we start from scratch on those if they're symbols that we don't normally look at. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of manual work to do the cycle analysis. And we do not have anything at all that is automated in that case. Believe me, we are working on that, and that might come down the road. But right now, we do not have anything like that. So no indicators on cycles. It's all just us doing the work. Question from Ken, are there any videos about Thinkorswim besides what we show for setup purposes? He says getting ready to get more familiar with that platform. So we do a lot of things that show you how to access our work on the Thinkorswim platform. Matt and the rest of the team have created quite a number of videos regarding how to use our services, and that is using Thinkorswim. Any other answer to that, Matt or Arby, that you could think of?
Is Ken, if you're, I'm not sure what level you are, but the level 4 members who utilize these grids for our askSlim tools, yeah, as Slim mentioned, we have a lot of video demos that explain how to import the grids. We've done askSlim live sessions with that as well. You know, we don't do videos on how generally to use Thinkorswim, but when it pertains to our utilizing our indicators, importing grids, we do have a number of videos on that. We actually have a whole section on that. So if he's a level 4 member, if they go to their workbench and they click on the, I'm going to go there now, proprietary indicators. I won't jump in there because it has all the access, but you'll see proprietary indicators right here. If you're level 4, you click on that and it takes you directly into our resource area for all of our proprietary indicators.
Okay, I think I'll grab it back now.
All right, and if we have any other members out there, if they could let me know if they can access the trader library. Our team just adjusted a few of the settings, and one thing is that helped to open it up. So
it looked to me like somebody actually said that they refreshed it and then they had it. So
okay, yeah, if we could just get a couple more people to confirm that, that would be great. But go ahead, Slim. You can take it over.
Okay. Should see my slide now.
Yep.
Okay, good. Michael's asking, what are the 2 long-term blue and black dashed cycle brackets on the weekly chart that we showed before and I was explaining? He wants to know what are the periods on them. And I happen to know that without even looking at them again, because we had another question about that today. So there's 72 and 109 weeks on those 2 bigger cycles that show up there. Those are nothing near the principle of nominal values that a lot of cycle analysts follow, but of course we don't actually believe in that. So everything has their own cycles and it just shows up and they change, and that's why it's so important to be a flexible analyst when you look at that. Raman is asking, do you apply seasonality to the cycle analysis? No, we do not. Simply look at the cyclical rhythms on their own, and they could be doing anything during any particular season. We're getting a couple questions coming in here now on the grains, because the grains had kind of an active week this week. So let me just find these questions in here. So one of the questions is about wheat. Was wheat overbought? And one of the questions was about the patterns in the grain market. So let's just start and look at wheat. One of the visual ways when you ask a question about is something overbought, the importance of the question in our mind is that in relation to what? when you ask the question overbought? How do you really judge when something is overbought? So here's the wheat market. And one of the ways that we do it visually is the distance from the moving averages. And specifically on the weekly, I like to look at the 34-week moving average, which you can see right in here is that blue line. Now, the 34-week moving average, I've done lots of videos and analysis on it talking about the magnetic power that it has. And that as you get into a corrective period in a cycle, as it's moved away from it, it often moves back down to it. A really strong pattern may stop on the 13, which is right here, but you can see how far it got away from the 34 right over here and how it got pulled back down to it. This one actually crossed it, as you can see right over there, and look where it is right now. So you can see the excessiveness of the move in here. And with this kind of moving up and the configuration likely to be positive, somewhere in here, wheat and the moving average are going to join together. By this distance, yes, I mean, I would say it got overbought. You could see by the action today, there's your fib extensions up over there where we're now projecting up to up near $8. And the analysis on here has been really good, really screaming at us the bullish configurations, as you see in this uptrend. And now it got a long way from that level, and that's why you've got this kind of a shooting star that you see right over there. So the person that asked me about those formations, yes, this really looks like an important formation and like it really got very overdone on the upside. And the other charts, I'll just go on the daily chart in here for the corn market. I'll show the weekly analysis on Future Speak tomorrow. You can see on the corn market, it also had that kind of shooting star right over there. Not quite as extreme as we saw. Note the slim ribbon, the positive signal, buy signal on the bottom right over here, a positive signal for momentum, which was really superb. And now the soybean market. And the same thing, it got up into those weekly extensions right over there, and that's an engulfing pattern, not only leaving the big tail, but making a higher high and then closing just below. So all of those look like short-term peaks in here. This shorter-term cycle really didn't give you anything on the downside yet. So maybe you get a few days on the downside in there for that. So yes, I think that the wheat market is showing you that it was overbought. I think that the grain markets as a whole are showing you that they've reached a level where they're about to struggle. So that would be my answer on that. We have a question there. What levels get Future Speak? That's a video level 2, 3, and 4. Get that level, get that analysis. All right, so somebody's asking to revisit the lows of March 2020 based on your longer term view, or would that be way too pessimistic? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Would it be too pessimistic? The March low right over here, after that big decline over there, I would say that I did not expect the market to do as well as it did. But then once it got over the 78.6 retracement and was giving us the high probability of a positive configured cycle, then we really changed. Momentum changed, it got through the resistances, and then we started to talk about the strength that was in the market. I don't really know what more you're asking me on that, but the market certainly was a lot stronger than I was looking for it to be, and it just simply proved itself through the analysis that we do. Len is asking for analysis on the VIX. I will show the VIX in Future Speak tomorrow, but might as well put it up right now. So here's your VIX analysis on the weekly. We were looking for the VIX to begin to move up in a brief period over here and then probably move down again. Then a potential out over here in this July-August period for it to get some kind of another spike and then move down again. The important thing that we're looking at right now is that this is this big dominant pattern that you see right over here and then right over here is in a downward sloping cycle that really suggests that there won't be any significant upside move in implied volatilities until later on in the year, somewhere out over here. So we would just think that it would probably be in a range of somewhere around maybe 14 to up to 25 to 30 out over here, in pretty much of what I think is going to be a choppy action in a very, I think, topping stock market out in the summertime. Here you could see this low right over here that comes in around the third week of this month, of May. So that low right over there, third week of May, this low right over here comes out about the second week of June or so. So they're a little bit off. And it makes me wonder if we're just not going to, have some kind of a top around the third week of May. And then this next cycle kind of takes a hold and it doesn't really you have one pop up in implied volatilities, but overall these patterns don't really let it get up very high. So that's why I think that we're going to have just a limited range in here for implied volatilities for quite a while. And I think that relates to maybe a long top going to be formed in the stock market. So that is the look at the VIX. Short-term analysis on silver, somebody wants, /SI. And here is your short-term pattern in silver. This looks like it's going to have a little bit of a dip. You could see these complex patterns in here. But overall, that's not bad. I mean, that green support area that you see right in there really looks like a buy. If it gets down in there in this next week or week and a half, that's under 25.37 right over there. That would be, in my opinion, a sweet entry level for this next rising phase. Now, you'll see that this is not developed yet because we don't have the anchor point in here. Once we do, then we'll be putting that in, and we're probably going to get up into this area of the high 27s after you get this little dip in here. Hope that does come out that way, because that would give a nice buy here. In the S&P chart, on the weekly chart, there's a downside to 4,000 in the end of May, beginning of June. That's on the weekly chart. The daily only shows a shallow downside at the end of May. Why do they differ? Well, maybe that's a good question. Let's take a look. I like that because, people are really looking deep into these charts over here and the energetic movement in here. So I think the question was the reference that the decline right over here in the coming out into the end of May or beginning of June takes you down too close to the 4,000 or just under the 4,000 level. That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is then, why is the dip more shallow on the daily chart right over there? So the reason for that is because the shape of the cycle, the previous cycle, and the momentum is strong. So when we look at this, based on the fact that if this is forming this cycle structure in here is mechanical and it's flexible. So this important low is at 41.1838. Right now, because we're having these series of positive cycles, the natural mechanical structure has it looking like this. So you're right in observing that this is more shallow than what would be the case looking at the weekly cycle. If this low 41.1838 is broken, it will then turn all of this down. We will be forced to redraw the structure because it will be negative, and then it will be pointing down as the weekly one is. So we're following if I didn't do this and I turned it down like I do on the weekly, I'd be anticipating improperly. I'd be guessing on that, and I don't really want to do that. I want to make sure that the members know that there is an upward energetic force in here until it tells us differently. Now, if this were to kind of move sideways or move up a little bit and not break down, then we'd be looking at this cycle right over here. Now, that next cycle right there bottoms June 29th. I would then be wondering if that isn't the cycle, and that this low that points over here to the end of May really needs to come out here to somewhere around the third week of June, and it's actually longer. So I'm going to let the market tell me by looking at that important number of 41.1838 that you can see right there. If that breaks down, the structure will then begin to look similar to what you have on the weekly. And I have to tell you, this was really a brilliant question that you asked, because it shows that you're really being observant as to, where there may be an incongruity in the analysis. And that's, that really says to me you're working on it. You're really paying attention and working on it. So I'm going to say to you, great work on asking that question. So let's see, what's the next question in here? Boy, Harvey, there's nothing on any of the stocks or any of that I can put you to work.
I think there's one later on, Slim.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, but
mostly, we're going to look at gold, asked by Joseph. Let's get these. I got so much analysis in here. What am I looking at here? Gold weekly, right? There it is. And the gold daily. There we go. So here is the gold charts on the side by side. Now, this is interesting because when you look at where the anticipated rally was in this minor cycle right over here, it would get up to the resistance zone, which you could see it really did. What's happening is that you only have about a month for a decline here to finish where these two cycles are coming down together. Now, a month doesn't seem like much, right? But look right over here where these two middle cycles were coming down. This basically held up, and it just had like a week or two-week decline right at that point. So this could very well in the next few weeks pull down over here to these last lows or a little bit higher, but somewhere under 1700 is where we would point to it. Look what it says right over here in the daily chart. The low right over here is in sync with a June 1st to 10th low, sub 1700. So you get a little pullback in here, you get a little rally, you're choppy for the next few weeks, and then possibly a sharp week or two to the downside that you see right over here. So this declining period here on the daily is in alignment with this declining period here on the weekly. And you may note the silver chart right in there comes down into a similar point right over there. So that, I'm looking for June 1st to 10th as the point where these things come in line. Lots of people raising their hands. So I think that says to me that they're liking that analysis, and it kind of makes sense to them that there is a pretty good idea that this sell zone could actually get you a decline in here. It would take, the dollar is going to have to get some strength. Which the dollar does not look good to me, and I'll look at that extensively in tomorrow's video, where, if the dollar looks as bad as I think that it does and has really given you a translation in there that may be quite negative and weigh on the dollar, then this has a little window of a decline right in here and right in here. And then you see right over here that next rally phase that we're projecting up potentially up to this high 1800s. That could be a pretty good time period over there. So we're going to be looking for that in gold. And I'll review that a little more extensively probably tomorrow. I tend to do some things I do more extensively here on the live event. I don't know, I just get involved, I guess. So Artem says, could you make a video, if you have one, on how to buy puts for to earn big money on a big big dip this summer? Well, I'll tell you, the closest that we're going to get to that, because we don't really do things like that, because we don't want to give you any advice. All we do is share the analysis and teach you, and then you'll be able to do it, decide what's best for who you are. And we don't ever say, do this because you're going to make big money. Because that's the way we would be able to get people in trouble, and you wouldn't learn a thing if we actually did that. So somewhere down the road in here, when the market starts to show us a top and we start to see things that are breaking down, then probably RV will do a video on some sectors of the market that look like they're topping and breaking down. Would you agree with that, RV?
Yes. I mean, so we don't have anything there right now, so that's why we aren't doing anything.
Yeah, I mean,
that we're saying it has been for higher. So
let's just take this question just a little bit further because I think it's important. If you go to the momentum tracker, which of course gives you longer term information, and you look at like the S&P 500 or you look at the Nasdaq and just look at the directional information that you see there in the pie chart, and you can see the relationship between stocks that are in positive condition and stocks that are in negative condition. And under those conditions, we're not going to be telling you what to sell in any significant way because very little is going to be showing up to us in that way. And that's the case now when you look at stocks that are basically in very strong momentum upward condition. Take a look at the long-term momentum conditions on the momentum tracker, and you're going to see, some things are like, some groups are 80% positive. So that's not coming up for us. And the best thing that we'll be able to do is to help you see what stocks that are breaking down when that actually comes so that you can apply the analysis to your own work. And then you can decide based on your own style what's appropriate for you and the healthiest trades that you could potentially make without taking inappropriate risk to make a giant hit on the downside. Because if that's what you're trying to do, I promise you're going to be in a lot of pain someday because I've been there too many times. All right, so I think I answered that question.
Bitcoin has been posted and then a few times here, Slim.
Thanks, Michael. Can you please do Bitcoin? Jules wants Bitcoin. It's funny, my friend that was just visiting me today from Chicago was named Jules. A guy. So let's take a look at Bitcoin here. I was going to save it for tomorrow, but I'll bring it to you right now. This is the weekly, this is the daily. I find it very interesting. I want to go to the daily first because there's a note in here that I put for the members right in here that's Bitcoin daily. Okay, there's a note I put in here for the members that as of yesterday, we shortened up these cycles. Now I'm gonna show you why I did, because I had it actually bottoming in about 4 days or 5 days from now, and you could see very clearly that it has bottomed. So I'm just going to grab this line right over here. So if you look right over here where the actual low was, you can see that where the actual low was, you can see that, and right over here and right over here. So the width of the cycle that I had in here was too wide. It was not matching up clearly with where these lows are coming. And if you look at what happened now in the way the Bitcoin is trading, it really is very clear that that cycle had bottomed. And you could see the cycle brackets have been shortened for that reason. This sell-off in here in that gap, see the gap up, the gap down, it makes the island. And then the negatively configured cycle that we have in here where this low is lower than this low is suggestive that Bitcoin will struggle in this area right over here. So we're going to have to really see what happens. I want you to note that the momentum is turned negative. The slim ribbon PO is negative, and this is about to give a sell warning in here because the momentum is negative and it's getting over the 75 area. So it very likely will fail in this area. These numbers right in here, just so you have them, are about 54.2.5, 56.550, and 58.520, somewhere around there. This zone over here should be where it fails. Now, if you look at the daily, right, the weekly over here, you can see that we had expected that it would come down over here to about 5,000. It actually got over here to about near 47,000. And that's this right there. So that island shows up here as an abandoned baby. Look at the momentum. There's where momentum turned strong over here at about 11,000. Momentum has been strong all the way up over here. And you have these islands that formed and momentum now turning negative. This is the area of proof of life because we have rising phases, but momentum turning negative. And if this fails up here and then takes out 47,000, we are in the yellow crash period. So it has to prove, the bulls have to prove they have it now. I got to tell you, based on my gut and based on what you know I believe about cryptocurrencies, I think it's going to fail. But again, the market's going to have to tell us because we're going to be completely agnostic in our analysis. So right now, when we look at the negatively configured cycle, this is a perfect time to do cycle training right now. Comes down, tests the 89-day moving average perfectly. Test the weekly support zone right over here perfectly. That's all the right spots, as you can see with this minor cycle bottoming, that it really should have stopped and begin to go up in here. This negatively configured cycle is less important when you're making a low on the weekly. You could just come up here, you could fool around, you could come down and make a higher bottom and then turn up again. If you don't take out this low that it made over here at 47,000 something, it's going to be positive and moving up again, even though it may rest in here, give you this cycle, base out, give you a positive configuration, and boom, head right up to 65,000 or 70,000, something like that. That could happen. So in my analysis in here, being of clear mind, I'm going to keep showing you what I think are the probabilities. And based on the probabilities where we are right now, there's less than, I would say, a 5% probability that Bitcoin fails now. It has to go through a much greater amount of trading and formations in here for that to happen. If this comes up here for the next couple of weeks, fails in here, comes down and takes out this low, it's all over. I mean, it will be very clear to us in that analysis. So I'm sure I'm not going to go through this kind of a detail tomorrow, but we'll see. Lots of people don't like when I speak negatively about Bitcoin, but as you can see, I'm just going to give you the answer that I think makes the most sense. All right, we have a question on Exxon. You have that one, Harvey?
I do, Slim. Yeah, let me pull
All
it
right,
up.
grab it.
Yeah, that's part of our focus list. So it's one of the charts that we update about 3 times a week. So this is the weekly cycle chart here for XOM. And what's going on is, first you can highlight these long cycles right here. Okay, so you can see the rising phase and then the pullback there, the rising phase, the pullback, the rising phase, the pullback, the very mild rising phase basically failed quickly, sold off hard. Rising phase, basing cycle formed right here in this cycle, moved through this old high and is now actually kind of in this mode right here where we would look for a low to form and then another move back up. So this is what I'm going to be watching for closely, is for this little area right here to then turn back down to form this next low and then get into that next rising phase here. Going out in the summertime. So that's something that I'm definitely looking at. I think this is going to be a nice move to the upside likely here in ExxonMobil. So that's kind of the bigger picture look. On the daily, you can see, if you look at this chart, you can see this beautiful move up, right? And throughout this whole process, we've had higher highs and higher lows. Now we have our first low that is slightly lower than that low. So we're looking for this to really roll back down on the downside. So that's what we'll be looking at. I see a couple of
nice head and shoulders there.
Yep. There's also you can see the left shoulder here, head, and then the right shoulder forming right here. So you'll want to watch that for a breakdown. We do have earnings coming up in a couple of days here, so just keep that on your radar too.
Jules is saying that, but the XLE is negative now. Well, that would be in line with what you're showing.
Yep, XLE is. Yep.
And how much does XLE match Exxon is what they're asking.
It is the same overall pattern here. So we're just looking for this to really turn back down again on the downside. But then what I want to just highlight is this is something that we just look for to turn back down here. But what would I rather look at? I would rather look at this move coming up here, because this is a much more interesting move based on everything that I see, is that I'd rather trade it up from, like from this area higher versus try to look for just a little move back down. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of the way that I would look at it in
And
terms
RV,
of
it's
possibly
Matt.
this XLM. Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that the configuration, the cycle configuration on the weeklies is positive though?
It's
not
very
negative.
positive.
Yeah.
Very positive.
So there's a
Yeah.
distinct difference, and that's why it's so important to determine your trading style and time frame, because on the daily,
Yeah.
you could call it slightly bearish or slightly negative, but on the weekly, it's still absolutely
very positive.
a
Yeah.
positive pattern. It's got a long way to go to turn that negative.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yep.
Right. Good point on perspective there.
Yeah. Very good point, Matt. Absolutely. I think the other one was SMH, right, Slim?
Yeah, I was just going to say to you of SMH.
So SMH, this was a nice move. So we got this sell off here that formed the key low, and then we are now in this rising phase here on this cycle. Now we could have a little bit more. We can see that this would, could turn up one more time, but then we look for this to roll back down into this next key low timing here. So SMH is okay, but it's already had a very nice run on the upside and probably is due for a little bit of this kind of action here. So choppiness likely.
We're going to have to shut off the questions now, and I don't think we're going to get to all of them that are still on there because we're running pretty much over.
Yeah.
Thanks for that on the SMH. And I want to make a point. You get the idea of all of this stuff is done manually by us. And I say to Arvid, you have this, and he's got it all done. So you just get a sense about how much work it is to keep up with all of this. Artem is asking if the market corrects 50%, it'll be back down to about where March is, and where March low was. And why is everybody talking about a collapse coming soon? Well, I don't think anybody in over here has been talking about any kind of a collapse. I have talked about a bear market, and I just want to encourage you to go watch my big picture analysis and catch up on some of those, and you'll get a sense for what we think is coming. We have a question on the dollar index, and I'm going to hold that off for tomorrow. Arthur's asking for Boeing and Tesla. RV?
Yeah.
So you caught up on those?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me pull. I don't have that one automatically updated, so 1 second. Boeing's in a decent longer term pattern. It's kind of in a bit of a chop fest at the moment here, like a lot of stocks that we're looking at. So let me see here. Let's give it a sec. Okay, so this is one of the grids here for the level 4 members. So let's pop open Boeing right here. Okay, so this is Boeing. You can see working its way higher slowly over time, right? You can see these series of higher highs and higher lows. We're just looking for a little bit of a move down here into this low timing, right? Between end of May and around like 7:26 or so, and then get another impulse back up. So that's really the overall picture in Boeing. Daily chart, basically the same, just looking for a little bit of a rally here and then a movement back down. We do have earnings, so we have a lot of earnings coming up, so just keep that on your radar too. And then what was the other one? Sorry.
Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. So Tesla's actually been acting pretty well. We've had the daily work pretty clear, and the cycles have been acting well, which is nice. So let's pull up Tesla.
That's despite what I said earlier.
Well, the flows are always going to be readable, right? So we just have to have to find them. So on the weekly chart, you can see the bottom that formed here and getting a kind of muted rally, right? You can see it's just kind of rallying, not doing a whole lot on the upside. Daily chart, you can see these beautiful rally sell off right here, right? Acted perfectly, rally, then a little bit of a move like that, flag, and then broke back up, hit our level on the upside, and is now moving down. And we have a low due right around now. So look for a move back to the upside, and then watch what happens if we get a rally, and then watch if it does fail and do something like that, because I would say that this overall uptrend that we're in is likely over with, right? So you definitely want to watch for that to happen shortly here in Tesla. We aren't getting this kind of nice move up. It's acting a little bit weak, so we'll have to just keep that on the radar too.
Right, and if you take the cycle workshop and you look at the discussion about velocity, you'll see that velocity often slows down at peaks, and then when it actually peaks and then starts to come down, velocity picks up. The same thing happens at a bottom, and you can see that right in here. Look at the velocity on the downside, which was very significant. Look at the velocity on the previous low on the triangle where it broke out of there, and it was very significant. But now look at the velocity that you're getting now, it's really struggling. Right. So the message that you're getting in there is that there might be a more dominant directional component to that is giving you some sense that the stock is going to struggle. You don't really know that until you start getting negatively configured cycles on the daily. That would be the first sign that you see, and that's what Arvi was talking about. So you see you have lows that are pretty much set in place there. That's one, and the next one is forming. Yeah, that was the previous one. There's the next one. So if you get a rally and then all of a sudden the low gets taken out, you know something is changing. Right, exactly. If that happens, then we get the message. Right now the message is positive. You look down at the slim ribbon PO, it's telling you so. Right. Great. That's great. Jonathan's asking about copper, and I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Miguel's asking about FXE or the 6E, and I'm going to save that for tomorrow. So make sure you watch Future Speak. This is two great questions. So I'm going to take this back from you. Sure. Not going to need that. So we have two really good questions in here in regard to the cycle analysis. Number one is, how do you guys arrive at determining the cycle variations, the windows? That means plus or minus time of an expected low. So the principle of variation, if you go look at Hurst's 8 principles that are in the workshop, talks about how much cycle moves from the nominal cycle values. Nominal cycle values being, well, I can't tell them all to you because they're infinite, but the ones that generally traders look at are 10, 20, 40, 80, 160. We don't follow the principle of nominality. We follow the slim version of it, which is identify the real cycles within the individual symbols. Those are the principle of variation as we use it. It suggests that there's normally plus or minus 3 bars or maybe 4 bars on either side of the ideal where the cycle is. And that's what we look at. And then if it starts to, bottom a lot sooner than that or a lot later, then we start to look for energetic shifts and what could be changing in there. And it's perfectly acceptable to us within that like 8-bar window, plus or minus 4 on each side of the expected low, that's where the normal rhythms are going to be. If you try to do things rigidly, and if you're pretty much mechanically minded, I mean, when engineers look at this stuff, since we do it in a kind of a manual style, they get a little out of their mind. So because they want something very definitive. And the last question that we have in here, do I understand it right? If you have a positively configured cycle on a weekly basis, no matter what it does on the daily stock, will it follow the weekly pattern? The answer to that is yes, generally. So if it's the weekly pattern is dominant, the longer the cycle duration or the longer the time frame on the chart, the more dominance on the shorter time frames or shorter cycle lengths that you look at. That is always the case. If something changes and it looks like the shorter term pattern is becoming dominant, that is a clear message that the weekly energies are changing. That's really what's going on, and that it's the dominance is not going to the shorter cycle, that the longer cycles are changing. And that's part of what you learn by taking the cycle analysis workshop. There is one more question there about cycles that we'll take. What is the interpretation of trend condition? And does it lag or lead the momentum condition? Momentum condition is normally the leader. The trend condition is determined by configurations of the cycles, or they're making higher highs or higher lows. The important levels break down, or are they breaking out? That takes time to set up when we look at that. The momentum indicators are way ahead of that very often. So we will, look at all of that in our analysis. Great questions today, really great. Remember that if you want to get information about the website, write to team@askSlim.com, or about your membership issue. Information on the Slimulator Momentum Tracker, SAR, ETF report, chart streams, and a lot of other things about memberships and stuff, that goes to matt@askSlim.com. Questions on trade ideas, Slimulator rankings, chart analysis requests, and lots of other things in there about the analysis. You can write that to Arby. I handle level 3 and 4 trading and analytical questions and cycle workshop questions. You can send those over to slim@askSlim.com. Great job, guys. What a great session today. Unbelievable, great questions that we had. You got any final words?
It was excellent as usual. Great instruction, and like you said, the interaction with the members is always fantastic.
Right.
And I love I love the real-time feedback on the trader library too. That always helps.
Yeah, I didn't hear you, Arby.
No, just saying it was always fun to like chat. So if you guys ever want to reach out, you're always free to. So.
Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. That wraps us up. See you next time.